Hello, everyone, and welcome to SUGTalks, the official podcast of the UK and Ireland SAP User Group, a not-for-profit membership organisation designed to help you get the very best out of your SAP systems. Our focus is bringing the whole of the SAP community together so our members can learn, network, and collaborate to improve their organisation and make their job easier, providing them an independent channel through which to influence SAP. I'm Craig Dale, your host and Chief Executive of the User Group, and together with our special guests, we'll take a deep dive into topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Today's topic of discussion is the journey to SAP S/4HANA, and this is the first episode of two. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Dawn Ingle, IS Director of Shoosmiths, Trish Griffiths, Head of Finance Systems at NATS, and also co-chair of the User Group's S/4HANA Special Interest Group. Oliver Betts, Senior Vice President, Head of Industry and Product Management for SAP S/4HANA at SAP, and Rayanta Rana, Ray, to those who know her, who is the SAP S/4HANA Movement Lead for SAP in the UK and Ireland. Well, firstly, thank you all for joining me today. And before we move on to our main topic, I'm interested to find a little about each of you. Over the new year, I was contemplating some of the past events, which of course we've not been able to have, and the sing-alongs that's often accompanied them. Some of mine have been documented at the annual conference, and believe me, they're awful to say the least. So my question to you is, if you had to sing karaoke, what would be your song of choice? So I'm going to start with you, Trish.
Oh gosh, Pink, Get the Party Started.
Oh, like it.
Yeah.
Nice Kickstarter, I like that one.
Absolutely.
That's a tricky one. So changes on a daily basis, but at the moment I would say there is an interesting song which is Rise Like a Phoenix, which is maybe already a thing which will be more in focus in January.
Oh, very good. Kickstart the year and rise like a phoenix. Like it. Dawn, what would you sing?
Very clearly, This Is Me from The Greatest Showman.
Ah, bringing yourself onto the stage. You are who you are.
I am who I am, exactly.
And Ray.
I'm a big ABBA fan and a big Mamma Mia fan, so it's going to have to be Mamma Mia.
Oh, one of my favourites, and will often get me looking a bit bad on the dance floor as well when that comes up. I'll tell you that for definite. Oh, well, thank you very much, everybody, for your answers there. And now moving on to more SAP-related matters. Our member survey towards the end of 2020 showed a rise in the number of organisations using or actually planning to use S/4HANA, up at 75%, and a rise in the number of organisations currently using S/4HANA, again moving up from 2019 from 10% to 16% in 2020. So we're definitely seeing a progression towards S/4HANA amongst our membership and the SAP customer base. The extended maintenance deadline announced in February of last year by SAP for Business Suite 7 or ECC6 customers from 2025 until 2027 has also been welcomed by customers, and we saw positive reflection of that in our membership base, which provides them with more time to move to S4. And then, of course, that was in February. Wham, bam, in March, we had the pandemic to think about that started affecting everybody across the globe. And, that's also put a pause on a number of projects in our member organisations and many customer organisations, with 30% of our members saying it's actually delayed their journey to S4 or will delay their journey. So a question to you to start with, Oliver, if I may. What volume of customers is SAP seeing move to S4 currently?
Yeah, thanks, Craig, for the question. I mean, 2020 was as you stated, a year where we saw great momentum, we saw great adoption on a global scale. So the official number which we shared at the end of the Q3 was that we achieved more than 15,000 customers on S4. And out of these 15,100, more than 8,100 were live already. So I would say a pretty good adoption rate there. Interestingly also that from quarter by quarter, we are getting around 500 customers. If you dig a little bit more into the numbers, you see that around 45%, at least in Q3, were net new customers. So it's not just the install base which is moving. We also see adoption of new customers, also customers which before were maybe not in the sweet spot of SAP, also smaller customers, customers which start internet businesses. So that's what we saw, and I'm very confident that this will also continue. I mean, Q4 is close, but we don't have the final numbers, but I think you can predict that the number will be pretty similar, which we will report then for Q4 2020.
Okay. Thank you. And Ray, how's that reflected in the UK and Ireland specifically?
So in the UK and Ireland, I think it's fair to say that the momentum is still gradual, but and the impact of the pandemic did slow down customers' adoption. So many customers had projects and programs planned that they then kind of stalled because of the uncertainty as to what they needed to have ready from a pandemic perspective. But what was really interesting in 2020 was we have had a lot of engagement and conversation and traction with customers exploring and, in the discovery phase of what it actually means to safely land S4. And from that perspective, I think, that's going to give us the momentum that we need as we go into 2021. What you said earlier, Craig, about the delay till 2027, I see that as a positive impact to customers, because customers are using the extra time to do some of the preparation activities and secure their adoption, so with as much ease as possible. So it's all going in the right direction. It was a little bit hit by the pandemic, but definitely a lot of traction and conversation happening. So look forward to seeing a lot of momentum in 2021.
Oh, excellent. Thanks. And just a point on what you mentioned there, Oliver, around SAP getting newer customers that perhaps SAP wasn't in the sweet spot for. So is this attracting, are you seeing S4 attracting customers in kind of new industry or new sizes markets?
From the industry, I would not see really a change. I mean, it's an industry where we had been already strong in the past. For example, consumer, but also retail, where S4 comes with either like pre-built functionality or best practices embedded, and where we have portfolio of surrounding industry capabilities there. I would say it's more changed in the industries, that some industries also related to COVID are maybe, pretty much not impacted. I mean, like pharma customers, which we saw a lot of adoption in the pharma space, because these customers definitely need, they have launches which others industry do not have. It's not driven by us, it's more driven by what happens in the industry. On the segments, I would say it's more, we saw also adoptions by customers which are smaller in size, maybe starting their business journey still in an earlier phase. And they started to adopt S4 because they also see it as a platform where they can grow over time when they get from a more mid-sized business to really a big business. That is something which we didn't have that much in the past.
Thank you. And Ray, you mentioned when you talked about the UK and Ireland, a positive number of customers in the discovery phase. What does that mean? What is the discovery phase?
So the discovery phase is an opportunity for customers to learn more insights about the capability of SAP S/4HANA and how that compares to improvements, optimizations, and simplifications that have come from ECC. So it helps to start identifying the key business outcomes and value drivers that a customer can gain from the move to SAP S/4HANA. And this then allows them to build the business case that they can then take to their organizations. But another critical part of the discovery is almost looking inwards a little bit at organizations. So evaluating their current ECC systems, looking at where there's opportunities to remove redundancies. Lots of customers especially long-term SAP customers have over the years put a lot of sticky tape and plaster over things and lots of customizations. And now it's an opportunity to really look inwards and see, okay, just answer honestly, okay, what can we do without and what can we actually get rid of? And without the fear that, oh, well, we have to do this, but it gives them the time to kind of have that exploration. So those are some of the things. The other aspect of the discovery, which is quite key, is around data and looking at what needs to be done in terms of getting the data, so to say, S4 ready. But more than that, also, I maybe should not be saying this, but cleaning up some of the mess that has actually been created, over the years and kind of streamlining that. So that's a good opportunity. And lastly, one of the things that I think is quite important from a move to SAP S/4HANA, it is an evolution. It's a massive opportunity to customers to really run their business operations slightly differently, especially from the user experience and some of the simplification that's from that perspective, and that's quite scary for many customers. So the discovery with demos and discussions and exposure to what SAP S/4HANA does allows customers to really identify their change impact elements as well. So I think there's a lot of those things that will ultimately make the landing to S4 successful. So there's those are just to mention a few things that we have as part of the MOVE program.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, it's certainly interesting that the scope of that. And I think two probably key points you brought up there that we've seen when we've been running events and talking to members around, the concern about the customizations and how does that fare when moving to S4, and definitely the data. I think it's a great opportunity for customers to really look and, if you like, improve their data and make sure that the data is clean and ready to move to the new system. And when doing that, I suppose it's an interesting point as one part of the journey, and then another part, perhaps like you say, in the discovery and the planning forward, is which flavour of S4 are you going for? We hear about on-premise, we hear about cloud, we hear greenfield, brownfield, etc. And Oliver, which flavours seem to be most popular with customers?
I mean, first of all, we see all flavors. I mean, that's, I think, maybe a statement to make at the beginning. Obviously, on-premise is still where a lot of customers have been in the past and also are moving to. However, we see the strongest growth we see in cloud, and this includes both private and public cloud. We see that, and COVID has accelerated that. There is customers are now more going to adopt standardized processes, best practices which are built into the system instead of building it on top of the system like it has been done in the past. It's the typical compromise that you have to do. To what extent do you really support your individual lines of business, your individual countries? And I mean, definitely COVID is accelerating within our customer community this statement or this path to go, okay, let's focus on really get the core businesses as standardized as possible, also see what we can adopt from a cloud, and then do whatever we need to do to differentiate ourselves outside of the core system, to keep the flexibility to innovate more agile outside, but the core, they want to be clean. So that can be done, can obviously be done both on-premise and cloud, but it allows customers already to adopt cloud ERP out of the box, which I think 10 years ago was just not feasible it was maybe feasible in finance, in HR, but not in logistics. And we see that this is now happening more and more. That's in general, if you look at the big numbers, on-premise is definitely number one. There we see a combination of greenfield and brownfield. The net news are obviously going a greenfield approach, that's clear. On the install base, I would say it's a mixed bag. It depends a little bit on the pace the customers have, because obviously if you greenfield takes much longer, it's a longer time to get the values back. Brownfield seems to be more attractive also from a business case, from a path to value. However, it requires then you do have to adopt the business processes and the new business process at some point in time. So I think it's not an easy question to answer, but we can definitely say every customer situation, every customer starting point is different. That's why we see this different landscapes and these different paths. I think the key statement, at least from my point, would be that we support all these journeys. We provide the flexibility. Our customers can adopt a standardized public cloud out-of-the-box process system, but can also go in a more tailored way, either in a greenfield and brownfield. Everything will be supported also in the next years. There is no change in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. And is that a similar case purely in the UK and Ireland market, Ray?
Yeah, I would say it's similar, and I would say add to that I think if a customer has already got a very clear cloud strategy and way forward, then cloud becomes almost the default that they're looking at, and then it comes down to the question of how much of control they want to still maintain. And how much of their current SAP assets are possible within that cloud environment that they're willing to kind of forego off. So those are the two things to consider. I think when it comes to greenfield and brownfield, there is a general assumption that greenfield is longer and scarier than brownfield, but it depends really on the customer situation, because it could be the other way around depending on the number of customizations that are also coming across. And we see, there being some complexities from that as well, even in the UK with customers in terms of their adoption, where lots of customizations have actually slowed down the brownfield approach. So as per Oliver, I think it all depends on hand on heart, how a customer is looking to move forward with standardized processes and their cloud readiness strategy, and that will kind of really help them define which way is the right way to go.
Thank you. And Trish, from the user group perspective, and obviously your dealings with customers within the special interest group, are you seeing anything different to that at all?
No, and it's quite funny with the terminology. I think there's a new one now, isn't there? Bluefield as well. So I think there's blue, brown, green, and I think there is such a mix and such a, as you say, everybody's journey is different, and we all like to think we're special in some way. We're not really in the big picture, but we all have a very different approach. And I think as much as we try to standardize, it's never possible. So I think from what I'm hearing in the S4 community is you have to go and look for yourself. So I think that's the clearest answer.
Thank you. Yes, almost a veritable project rainbow there of different colours. So, and obviously the bonus of today is we have Dawn with us, who with Shoosmiths has gone on the journey to S4. So, without getting too personal, Dawn, how was it for you?
So being an early adopter of S4, we obviously found some bumps in the road. We decided to go with a partner, and as we worked through this initially, it became clear that because we were an early adopter, neither SAP or the partner had masses of skills in that area. S4 was relatively new, and people were learning on the job. So we made the decision to supplement our own internal resource with some contractors, particularly within the programming area, and we used them to help us to push the migration through. I think it's important to add, as I already have, that we've got quite a lot of bespoke code. So a lot of the work that they did was to push that bespoke code through the migration process. We used our partner where they had really good skills, which was mainly in the basis arena, and we eventually managed to go live, but chose to go live with the same look and feel as old style SAP, so not fully utilising the new functionality when we went live. Clearly we got some benefits, particularly the speed was incredible, but it was less of an impact for the user. What we've then subsequently done, we've had the opportunity to then build on the new functionality and deliver that. We recently went live with a Fury dashboard, which everybody loves. So yeah, it was a tricky process, but it was literally just a migration, which got us to S4 really early, and now we're reaping the benefits of that.
Thank you. And that's quite interesting that obviously you chose to go live with, I suppose, the technical upgrade, so to speak, but utilising the same GUI before you're moving to Fiori and the new style of user interface. Was there any impact internally on that from if you like, that technical upgrade with the same look and feel? How did the users feel about that?
Because of the way we were going live, which was obviously we went to S4 because of a license issue. So we had to try and make this as simple for them as we could, and we also had to do it fairly quickly. So Fury dashboard of the tiles is a massive change for look and feel. And we felt at the time that just going with the same GUI, obviously buttons have moved and it does look different, but it was the simplest way to get it over the line as quickly as we could. Now, in hindsight, actually, having been to the Fury tiles recently, I don't think it probably would have been the uphill battle that we thought it would be, but actually we are where we are now, and we've now got the Fury tiles working.
And I suppose, was it a big wow moment for everybody internally when you switched over to the new interface?
Oh, it really was. We were still using a really old WebDin Pro GUI that was really outdated. So going to the tiles has really been a eureka moment for everybody. It looks nice, it looks sleek, it looks newer. And they can still do what they want. The fact they can also choose what they have on their screen is brilliant, because a lot of them don't use SAP very much, so they can just have the 4 or 5 tiles that they need. Oh,
great. Has user adoption been good for you, Shoosmiths?
Yes. So what we did with this was we went with a handful of pilot users. We then gave everyone a choice. So we put it out there and people could choose to use it. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, we went big bang. We clearly missed month end and all those important dates, so that people got used to it. But actually, the morning it went live, we've never looked back, and actually nobody's really come back and gone, please can I go back to the old style? So clearly they like it.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Dawn. And I think what we will do now, we'll pause the conversation and to end this episode, as I think we're up on our time now, and we'll look to come back in the second part to continue our discussions around the journey to S4HANA. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you to all of our other guests today on our pod, and thank you for listening. So please do come back and listen to episode 2 of this one. And if you'd like further information on the user group, please do visit our website at www.sapusers.org. And until the next time, stay safe, stay positive, and keep washing your hands.